أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أفضل الذكر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين، العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد، حبيب إله العالمين أبا القاسم محمد، وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. العلماء ورثة الأنبياء. فضل العالم على الناس كفضل الأنبياء عليهم. But the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets and the messengers of God, and that the status of a scholar upon the people is in similitude to the status of the Anbiya to their nation. These were glimpses of the praise that the members of Ahlul-bayt, particularly the Messenger of God, relayed in regards to the status of those who are learned. Indeed, Allah Ta'ala indicated in numerous places in the Holy Quran that فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those of knowledge, of remembrance, if you yourself don't know. And then He encouraged us لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, to go and become more knowledgeable in areas of religiosity, to be those of fiqh. لِيَتَفَقَّهُ is a manner here to describe being aware of the do's and don'ts and the expectations of the heavens. And indeed, in the world of narration, we see that the scholars are considered ghuraba. They're considered those that are lonely. As Imam Amir al-Mu'minin says in Kanz al-Ummal, al-ulama ghuraba لِكَثْرَةِ الجُّهَالِ بَيْنَهُمْ, due to how many jahil or juhal that are among them. That these people are lonely. You might see them amidst many followers and lovers, but at the end of the day, none can match them. They feel a sense of loneliness due to their jihad, and that they became mujtahids, that they suffered and they've endured much, and they come to realize the reality of this dunya. Whether they've entered the world of al-sayr was-suluk, of irfan, and they became urafa, one who has ma'rifah from the root of that word, etymologically speaking, they've become to realize the reality of this world. This doesn't require, for example, one seeking a natural, traditional education in whatever institution. One can learn and become learned through their own experiences. The way of knowledge is not like going to Harvard or Yale or U.S.A. or anywhere else. It's a manner that involves what? Manner that involves thinking and reflecting and realizing in your own way. But institutions help us. They've laid the path, they give you the books. There are independent researchers. There are many individuals out there that, mashallah, they've reached a degree of ma'rifah. But that doesn't mean we undermine the efforts of the heritage of the Islamic seminary, the Hawza al-Ilmiya, be it in Qom, be it in Najaf al-Ashraf, previous to these institutions, be it in Asfahan, be it in Iraq and in Kufa, and be it in the hub of ilm, Madinatu ilmi Rasulillah, within the well of knowledge that is Ali and the sons of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, as he is the door to the city of knowledge of the Messenger of God. Whether you came up to them personally, they were your Hawza. Whether you ask them by asking their companions, because it was in the time of what? Turbulent taqiyya, and one imam was behind bars for the most part of his life. Therefore, he would dispatch those that would represent, so he'd ask them. Whether it was an imam that entered in ghaibah, an occultation, and he dispatched 4 wukala, Uthman ibn Sa'id al-Amri, Muhammad ibn Uthman, Hussein bin Ruh, and Ali ibn Muhammad, and that I need to know my imam's opinion, I go to you. Whether it was after the last deputy, and then he announces to the world and the masses that after this day there will be no more deputies. And if you want to attain the knowledge that God expects from you and the truth that is incumbent upon you, what is your taklif al-shar'i? As you all have a taklif al-shar'i, and so do everyone, and even the ulama. Your religious obligation, talabul ilm. And if you need any manner of intelligence that you want acquired, then alaykum birawati hadithina. فأما الحوادث الواقعة. As for any issue in this life, فارجعوا فيها إلى روات حديثنا. Let yourselves return back to the narrators of our traditions. فإنهم حجتي عليكم. For they are my proofs upon you. Mine meaning Imam, صاحب العصر. I am the hujjah to them. They are the hujjah to you. فإنهم حجتي عليكم وأنا حجة الله. And I am the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the absence of this, we go back to the next best thing. Or whether it's a manner that involved siratul uqala. The way of ilm is in multitudes and in many levels. Siratul uqala means the way of reason and the way of logic. Logic and reason dictates the following. That I come to my terms logically. That number one, anna la ilaha illallah. I need to come to that conclusion. There is no taqleed in this issue. Sirat al-uqala, the way of the thinking and the wise and the logical and the rational, is that I must find God. I can't say I believe la ilaha illallah because marja X says so, or scholar Y says so, or sheikh or mufti says so. I have to have that conviction. And that is why there is no taqleed. In usul al-din, there is in furu' al-din. In regards to furu' of salah, who comes and tells me how many tasbihat are in the third and fourth rak'ah? 3 or 1? In the heritage of the Shia Imamiyya school of thought, we've seen ulama say 1, ulama say 3. As a result, out of ihtiyat, we do all 3. Because if it was 1, you've got the 1. If it was 3, you got the 3. And that is the way of the wise, that we look at the precautions, that we look at the ihtiyat, and we look at the usul al-amaliyya, be it in regards to any manner that exists that I have doubt, shak. I don't know what my taklif al-shar'i here. The heritage of the scholarly, scholastic material has given you the answers. Cases in life that are in regards to shak, whether you 50 or 50, I don't know what the case is. It can either be in a manner that involves bara'ah, that I plead the fifth here. I have a bara'ah. And everything that is involving bara'ah or the manner that you are innocent in, for example, I don't know whether the following hukum is halal or haram, smoking. Smoking, in the case of Shahr Ramadhan al-Mubarak, I can't tell you if it's mufattar or not mufattar because I don't see a hadith, only because it never existed. Therefore, Ahlul-bayt never provided it. So where do I refer to this situation? I have doubt. In this case, I look at the following. The innocence that is aqli, that is knowledgeable, that is rational, bara' al-aqliyah. And the bara' al-aqliyah tells me anything that you don't know its ruling is allowed for you. Allowed within the shak portion. I don't know the ruling. Why? Because I have, after researching the ahadith, by the way, this isn't a manner that involves, I don't know it's halal. We have that principle. كل شيء لك حلال حتى تعلم أنه حرام by the sixth Imam. Everything is halal for you until you've determined that it's haram for you. But there is حتى تعلم. You must go and figure out, do your due diligence. If at the end of it you see Ahlul-bayt never mentioned a hadith, Ahlul-bayt and God is better than to not give you the answer to whether something is haram or halal and expect you to still follow whether it's haram or halal without giving it to you first. So if they allowed it, it's mubah. And if it's mubah, it means it's allowed. Because in life we have either action is wajib, or it's mustahab, or it's mubah, or it's makruh, or it's haram. And in these cases we find. But then we discover that they've also given us other principles, qa'idat, and the principle of la darar wa la dirar, the principle of no harm. And yes, I may not see a hadith that says specifically that action is haram, but I can see that the conclusions of the following action can fit in with their other teachings. That if I can scientifically conclude that this can cause harm, there is no shadow of doubt, I may not need a hadith then. I can just look at the qawa'id, the usul, and hence the usul al-fiqh becomes important. But who am I to come and do this research? Bara' al-aqliyah, bara' al-shar'iyyah, istishab, the law of continuity. For example, if I begin a manner and I have full yaqeen I began in a manner, and I don't know whether I am currently in that state, I have 50-50 shak, I know that the Ahlul-bayt told me, istishab, the law of continuity, means never negate certainty with doubt. لا تنقض اليقين بالشك. For example, I did wudu. I am not aware if I've invalidated the wudu because I did rest and I know that sleep breaks wudu. So I don't know if I went to sleep because I was just resting, it was a tired day, it was long, it was a long, long day. But I can't tell you if I fell asleep, to be honest with you, 50-50. Because you had certainty you did wudu, and you have shak that you still are on or off wudu, never negate certainty with doubt, assume you still have wudu. Ahlul-bayt allowed that. Why? Because why would you doubt it? You want to be precautious and go do wudu, it's okay. But the proof and Allah's expectation is not here. That I expect you to do wudu. You gave me these principles. Or whether a food that you've cooked, I know it's halal, I'm not sure if it's currently halal anymore. You know, that kid that runs around and his finger is bleeding. Did he touch the thing? Is it now contaminated with najasa? I'm not sure. Because you had certainty it was halal, but now you have shak whether or not it is halal, or in the sense of tahara and purity, never negate certainty with doubt, assume it's halal. Unless, by the way, this goes with your common sense. Common sense. If clearly the kid's touching everything and everything and everything, it's clearly he touched that too. I didn't need to see it. Although common sense is not so common, you have to do your due diligence. Someone comes and tells me that X food that was made for me is halal. Then someone else comes and tells me, yeah, I know they told you it's halal, but I swear I saw them cook it and they cooked it using wine, for example. Some people cook using wine as for flavoring. And the person that told you it was cooked using wine says, come look, there are the wine bottles right there. Now you have evidence. Shak is not anymore going to be the case. It's now you have dhann. That's where Islamic logic comes. Dhann, mantiq. Dhann is 80% certainty. Shak is how much? 50-50. 100%, what do we call it? Yaqeen. 20% is what? Tawaham, waham. I have very little certainty. And of course, 0% is another manner of yaqeen as well. But in this case, I see the bottles. Can I say 100%? This guy took the bottle, poured it, made with red wine sherry, and now we're drinking this and eating this haram najasa. La ilaha illallah. I didn't see it. But you said if you don't know, it's halal. La. That's if it's 50-50, buddy. People use this excuse all the time. I didn't know. I didn't know. Hey, they said it was. La, you have to do your due diligence. Don't be in a position. Wallah, I know some people, I don't even want to begin it, where you break your fast on haram. You fasted all day, break it on haram? Even shaitan is confused. All day fasting, fi sabilillah, he's so mad at you, shaitan. Once you break your fast, alhamdulillah, he broke his fast on something haram all of a sudden. If you have evidence, then you have to now implore some investigation. Therefore, who comes and gives us this knowledge? The ulama. Why? Warathatul anbiya. The inheritors of the prophets of God, from how much they gave us. But sadly, you've seen a trend, and I see it all the time, and sometimes the trend is innocent, and sometimes the trend is malicious. Where come the guy, and it's usually the guy, not even the girl, where he insists on no need to follow the system of taqleed. Number one, what does he know about my life here? I have lived here, I deal with these cases all the time, many of you raise this to me. On our social media, I get this question a lot. Why do I need to do taqleed? It's not I don't get it. He's not going to understand my circumstances unless I send him a message and say, hey, what's the case here? I live here. Number two, things are common sense these days. I know what's haram, I know what's halal. Number three, why do I have to stick to one man's opinion? If he makes sense, he makes sense, he makes sense. These questions can be asked genuinely and they make a lot of sense. I like the knowledge and the way that you're trying to seek it. Let me figure it out. Other times it's not. Bro, forget these people. I don't appreciate this whole system of khums. I don't want this to go be in the way it is. In fact, I think there's something wrong going on. Could it be corrupt? Because there's this mindset. Every institution has flaws, and they might even give you examples that don't you know that, for example, X scholar, his wakil and his best friend had a bad relationship with my family. For example, it's over then. Well, what's the scholar got to do with it? If they designated someone, they designated someone, but it shouldn't go back to. Or some speaker who is a loudmouth speaker, hopefully not the guy you're looking at, but some loudmouth speaker, very loud, always talks about X scholar, but one day they said something really bad. One day we caught them in the act. One day they had this horrible hukum that they just insisted on people. Who are you going to blame now? The speaker or the scholar that they publicly show you they support and endorse? Don't fall into this world where it's like, hey, the followers are maybe not observing the best conduct. Then let the person they're following be condemned. Why? Why is it the case? We can't control that. How long have we seen the messenger of God himself? Peace and blessings be upon him and his family, and some of the so-called followers fight the messenger of God. Was it not Khalid ibn al-Walid initially who fought Rasulullah in the battle of Uhud and broke the Prophet's heart when Hamza died? Later on joins Rasulullah, for example, supposedly, and then later on during the event of Saqifa, fights against Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen and goes and enforces allegiance on the other establishment to others, but not by Amir al-Mu'mineen. If we're going to keep saying the followers are going to represent the main individual, that's not fair. Then we have to go back to the Messenger of God and his Ahlul-bayt as well. Therefore, we judge in an individual level. And at the end of the day, who are we to judge? It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows the reality and knows the circumstances. Everyone is not going to be judged based on followers. It's going to be judged based on your own individual action. But likewise, these questions are asked. Can I do a taqleed of multiple? And if it's the case, how am I sure they know my reality here? The case is as such. The history of the beautiful way of the scholarly, scholastic manner begins with the Ahlul-bayt. It's not a manner that just came to life, many might assume, in the Safavid Empire, when finally the Shia were in political power. They needed some religious justification. No, we actually go back to the time of the Quran. The Quran insists, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. It said, ask the people of knowledge, of reason, of ma'rifah, if you don't know. Now, it could have simply said, ask the Prophet of God. It said, أَهْلَ الذِّكْر. Some might say, أهل الذكر are Ahlul-bayt. Indeed. Is there any Ahl of dhikr other than Ahlul-bayt? They're the peak. But like how some of the sifat of Allah can be seen in you and I, Allah is all Rahman, but you can also be Rahman as well to a degree with your family and friends. Allah is the mutakabbir, you have to be mutakabbir ala al-mutakabbir because that's ibadah. Allah is Rahim, you have to have some of that Rahimiyya in you as well. Likewise, Ahlul Bayt or Ahlul Dhikr, you have to be to a degree as much as you can, people of dhikr as well. Because only those who are of dhikr are those of victory and salvation. Remember, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. We have made the Quran easy, so who will then come and comprehend it? The Quran is not only for the Ahlul Bayt, it's for us as well. The difference is, they are manifestations of the Quran walking and talking, and I am the follower of that Quran. In this situation, we find that the Shari'iyya began with the Messenger of God. They got their authority. Then with the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Imams saw their circumstances were different. In this situation, they had to dispatch people to represent them, especially when it came to the time of the 5th and 6th members of the 12 Ma'sumeen. Al-Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, Al-Imam Mohammed al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, found themselves in the following situation. Being in the city of Kufa, the Shia and the followers and the Muslimin were spanning from Mecca, Medina. Ahwaz has just been accepted, as well as north and Syria and the north of Africa, Egypt. By that point, the followers of Ahlul Bayt couldn't directly access them as well. So Imam al-Sadiq would dispatch. He began by dispatching the likes such as Abu Basir, you go to Madain, you Zurara go to Medina, you go there, and your statement is my statement. How much trust did he have with these people? These were what though? Muqallideen of the Imam. They did the full amount of trying to imitate, emulate, follow the Imam of Ahlul Bayt. Some might say, but you today do taqleed of fallible people. I wish I could do the taqlid of Imam al-Sadiq today, but I need someone who's knowledgeable to tell me what he said, because I won't be able to tell you from the hadith which one is correct, which narrator of hadith is accurate, from which book, etc. I need to find someone who did the work as well, just like in any expert field. Likewise, you wouldn't dare question the expert when it comes to your physical health. You would just say, that's the case. I need to take the medicine. I need to amputate. When it even comes to things that extreme, if it's the best for my health, I'll do it. You're the expert. But let me go and see another expert's opinion. There's no shame in that. That's why in our worldview, you're allowed to have, the marja' says, go ahead. If I haven't issued a fatwa and I said ihtiyat, that means you're allowed to go find the opinion of the second most knowledgeable. Why does it have to be the most? It has to be. It's called common sense. Who are you going to follow? The least knowledgeable? In medicine, you want to follow the least knowledgeable? Of course it's the most knowledgeable. Ya habibi. At this point, what's the argument for? At this point, it's a matter of you wouldn't tolerate something subpar for your health. What about that which your health is contingent on? Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. Your way of life, your ahkam al-shar'iyyah, your fiqh, your hilal, your this, your tahara, your najasa. All of this, is it just on your own opinion? You're right. In that case, you're a mujtahid. Because you become a marja' yourself. And that's fine if you can. Go ahead, mashallah. Unless I seek the counsel of an expert, like I do with my health, I need to do with my spiritual health as well. Like I wouldn't even, for example, dare say, you know what, I know you're the expert in regards to my well-being bodily, but I won't accept it. Who are you? Who are you? If you want to go, who are you? Either become the doctor or take multiple opinions, which you could do. Tab'idh. You can do that ihtiyat. I'm going to follow all their opinions. You can go ahead and do that. That's called sirat al-uqala, the way of the wise. Just follow what's wise. Wisdom tells you, you follow those who are more knowledgeable than you. It's just wisdom. It's not a bid'ah institution. It's following the aql. And aren't we all people of the aql? Because it's through the aql you found God. It's not through taqleed. Usul ad-din, you have to use your own reason. I believe that there is no God but God, because God is too good than to die on a cross. God die on a cross, that's a limitation. That which is limited is not worthy to be worshipped. I found you because I understood you. The messenger of God as well. The day of resurrection as well. I know there will be a day we will be held accountable for our actions. Not only is it in this case, we notice that the dispatching of deputies was the case because that was the best way to do it when you could not access the ma'soom. Later, when the ma'soom enters ghaibah, he then says these are four. He made them public. Uthman ibn Sa'id, Muhammad ibn Uthman, Hussein bin Rawh, Ali ibn Muhammad. 70 years went by, the minor occultation. If you are a Shi'i, you have to do taqleed of them. And this taqleed that has no ihtiyat. All they say is fatwa because they know God's law. From that moment on, the Imam enters into the Ghaib al-Kubra. When he does that, he makes the statement, فَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثَ الْوَاقِعَةِ فَارْجَعُوا فِيهَا إِلَى رَوَاتِ حَدِيثِنَا فَإِنَّهُمْ حُجَّتِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَأَنَا حُجَّةَ اللَّهِ. Return back to those who narrate. Why didn't he say maraja'? It's the same thing. رجوع, مرجع, ارجع, return, ارجع, فارجعوا. Return to those who narrate. If I tell you today to narrate وسائل الشيعة, to narrate al-istibsar, to narrate man la yahduru al-faqih, to narrate al-kafi, I would find the most difficult process beginning in my life because I can't understand beginning the process of learning the world of the way of ilm al-rijal, of what this statement means, what that claim is, the context of the hadith. There are so many variables to keep in mind. I have to return back to those of knowledge like Allah ordered me. فارجعوا فيها إلى روات حديثنا فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون. You have لا علم, لا تعلم, ارجع إلى من يعلم. Go back to those that know. It's as logical as that. But the thing is, time progresses. At the beginning, Ahlul-bayt were simply people that made the claims, and for the earliest period of the early ghaibah, the claims were there until society began to expand. How do I pray on a boat when the boat is turning? It reminds you of the plane situation. What happens when we make it as far as Islamic Spain and we visit and see new rulings, new people, new ahkam, new ways of life, interacting with kuffar that I had no idea kind of existed, the kind of food. What's going on here? I may not see a hadith like the whole smoking issue, so I need to use principles now. Buddy, I can't go back to the usul al-amaliyya myself, or the usul al-arba'miyya, or for example Kafi and its 8 volumes, and study the ahadith, mabab al-mu'amilat, wal-ahkam, wal-ijra'at. I need to follow someone. Now, my mind tells me follow the most reasonable and logical until we began with Shaykh al-Mufid. Shaykh al-Mufid, the teacher of Shaykh al-Tusi, the founder of the Hawza in Najaf, said we need principles. Usul al-Fiqh, the principles of jurisprudence. If you notice, the first to introduce Usul al-Fiqh was not the Shia. That's true, we can give that away. It was a Shafi'i. And Mohammed bin Idris al-Shafi'i, the Imam of the Shafi'i school of thought, came and he said, let's do it at around the time of Imam al-Kalam alayhi salam. Why? How come it took us longer after the Ghaib of Shaykh al-Mufid? Because when you're from a worldview that doesn't believe the ma'sumeen or ma'sooms, that their words are just scholars, then at that point you've lost the Prophet and you need something to build and make ahkam. You have to make usul al-fiqh. Because the ma'soom, his word is not hujjah. So to you, you need to make usul fiqh. But for us, after Imam al-Kadhim, we had Imam al-Ridha. We could just go ask him. After Imam al-Ridha, Imam al-Jawad. After al-Jawad, you had al-Hadi, al-Askari, and the awaited and his deputies. So we didn't need to make usul fiqh to figure out ahkam. Just go ask him for the hukum shar'i. That's why, in around the same period from the time of the death of the Messenger of God to al-Shafi'i, usul fiqh happened. From the time of the ghaibah of al-Imam al-Mahdi to al-Mufid, usul fiqh happened. That's when we notice we need to create a system that helps us understand. Usul al-amaliyya came in. Istishab that I mentioned earlier, bara'a, takhyir, and the likes, and ihtiyat, all of this. They came and helped us in this regard, and we are indebted to them, genuinely. From Shaykh al-Mufid, to Shaykh al-Tusi, to al-Muhaqqaq, to al-Allama, his nephew, so on and so forth. And the beautiful thing, brothers and sisters, and we will wrap up soon with this, is that the proof is literally there. From our scholarship, be grateful. You've learned about the fada'il from them. It's not just ahkam, it's the fada'il. Because the fada'il are coming from where? The hadith. They tell you this hadith is sahih. Those that come and claim it's pointless, they don't know my situation. Wallah, they know it and more. The fada'il comes from them. It's just fada'il and let's do masa'ib only. It came from them, didn't it? They ended up telling you this hadith is true. As Sayyid al-Khoi looks at, for example, Kamil al-Ziyarat, and he says the ahadith of the ruwat are all authentic. Later on, he changes his opinion and he begins to change his fatawa accordingly. They are the ones. Kamil al-Ziyarat, ad'iyah. Al-Bayan fi tafsir al-Quran, a book of tafsir. These scholars have a reach that is far beyond. Just look at it. Look at the link, how it goes back to the Ahlul-bayt and the Messenger of God himself, our current marja' deen. May Allah bless all of our scholars, by the way. It's beautiful. It's an honor that we have these ulama, our current marja' of Najaf. May Allah prolong his life, whereby the Pope wants to come and visit him. And maybe did his taqleed, I have no idea. That Sayyid al-Sistani, hafidhahullah wa maddallahu fi umrihi sharif, who graduated from the most beautiful institution of Ayatollah al-Sayyid al-Khoi, who came from the likes such as Ayatollah Shaykh al-Na'ini, Shaykh Husseini al-Na'ini, Qaddasallahu nafs al-Zakiyya, who came from the way of his teacher, Shaykh Murtada al-Ansari, who came from the likes such as Sayyid al-Fishariki and Sayyid Muhammad Hassan al-Mujaddad al-Shirazi, who came from the likes of Shaykh Muhammad Hussein Najaf, Sahib Jawahir al-Kalam, who came from the likes such as Shaykh Ja'far Kashf al-Ghita, who came from his teacher, Shaykh al-Wahid al-Bahbahani, who helped transfer the world of the Shia from an akhbari to an usuli school. They came from their families and their teachers and their mentors and their ulama, to the likes such as Shaykh al-Tusi, to the likes such as his teacher, Shaykh al-Mufid, to the likes such as his teacher, Shaykh al-Saduq, to his father who was his teacher, Ibn Qawlawayh al-Qummi, to the likes such as a Shaykh who came from Kulaini, Muhammad bin Ya'qub al-Kulaini, the teacher of the father of Shaykh al-Saduq, who met the 4th deputy of Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, who's the student of who, and the pupil and the product of who, the 3rd wakil, Hussein bin Ruh is the teacher of Ali ibn Muhammad, who met Shaykh al-Kulaini and they would converse often. Who's the student of who? Mohammed bin Uthman. Who's the student of who? His father, Uthman bin Sa'id al-Amri. Who are the students of who and the product of who, and they are the companions of Al-Imam al-Jawad, Al-Imam al-Hadi, Al-Imam al-Askari, and Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman Ajjalullahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. And from there you go back to their own legendary fathers, and they go back to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he goes back to Rasulullah, and he goes back to Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. The connection is still preserved, alhamdulillah. And if you're not satisfied with the connection, to those that say, I don't want, I don't care, they don't know, and it's the case, we don't need, just come and look at what they've contributed to society. These are your role models. Wallah, these are the best role models. In humanitarianism, none come near them. It was in 2015 and 14 when the Yazidi massacre happened that did Sayyid Ali Sistani open the hawza and gave them rooms and homes, and they were none, even from the Abrahamic religion, gave them from the payment of the hawza. Say, these guys need to stay here. Nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 2 times as a result of that. Such that the Pope comes and begs to come and see him. And on his way back on the interview on the plane, you guys all saw it, back to the Vatican, I saw a man, truly a man of God. That should make me proud, that that's my leader. The likes such as one of the most underrated, by the way, ulama, when it comes to humanitarianism. And of course, all of them are humanitarianists. But come and just look at these glimpses. The following alim, Samahat, Ayatollah al-Udma, al-Marja, al-Dini, al-Kabir, al-Sayyid Muhammad Jawad, al-Alawi al-Barujurdi, Madallahu fi umrihi al-Sharif, the grandson of Ayatollah Sayyid Hussein al-Barujurdi, Sayyid al-Ta'ifa, Qaddasa Sirruhu al-Sharif. In Qum al-Muqaddasa, he is the student of Shaykh al-Wahid, of Sayyid al-Ruhani. And in the 2015 Myanmar and Burma crisis, when the Buddhist monks were hacking Muslims in Myanmar, you know what he did? He wrote, being the faqih that he is, he wrote a letter personally to the Dalai Lama. And he said, you claim to be a man of peace, and this is happening in your region. Do something about this. The Dalai Lama actually responded. As a result, they were able to make efforts to end this genocide that happened in Myanmar due to the efforts of our ulama and fuqaha. Al-ulama warathatul anbiya. And truly we are honored to see this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prolong their lives. Make them beacons of knowledge and union for us today. Allow us to visit them as they are the inheritors of the prophets indeed. And make us blessed enough to appreciate their success, not let them be ghuraba, lonely, because of the juhal that are around them. May Allah give us ma'rifah so that they are no longer able to be viewed as lonely, so that we can come and bring them that satisfaction, for they brought the satisfaction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام، صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام، واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام. Brothers and sisters, as the holy month of Ramadan